If you love peach pie, you're not going to want to miss today's video because I'm going to show you my favorite peach pie recipe, and I'm going to show you how to make it with two crusts, like a double crust pie, or with my favorite, a crumble topping. You're not going to want to miss it. Hey everyone, it's Dorothy with crazyforcrust.com, and welcome back to my kitchen. If you love peach pie, you've come to the right place because today's recipe is all about peach pie. Two crust pie or crumble topping, whatever you like, this is the recipe that you're going to want to keep making every summer, year after year. This recipe for fruit pie filling is actually the recipe that I use for all of my fruit pies except for apple and strawberry. So any berry pie, any peach pie this will work with, any combination of fruits you can do the same method with. And you can use the same method for the crumble topping and for either a two crust or a lattice pie crust. Now, the first thing we have to do is make our pie crust. You could totally buy a refrigerated pack of two. Sometimes I do that when I'm just not feeling like making mine from scratch. Or you can use my All Butter Pie Crust. That one I'm gonna link right up here above my face, so go and click on it if you want that recipe. So once you have to decide if you want to do this with a crumble topping or two crust pie. So either way you wanna do it, you either need one crust or two, depending on which topping that you want. First thing to do is get that bottom crust in the pie plate, put it in the fridge while we're making the filling, and preheat your oven to 425 degrees. All right, before we make our filling, let's make sure that we decide what we're doing on the top of our pie. If you're gonna do a double crust pie, go ahead and roll out that crust. If you wanna do it on lattice, or you wanna use some cookie cutters to make some fun shapes, or maybe you just wanna do it old school, just cut some slits in it, that's fine. We can do that after you put it on top of the pie. But go ahead and prep the top crust if you're using a two crust pie. If you're making the crumble topping, be sure and check out my video because it gives you the entire recipe and shows you how to do it. For your crumble, it's best if you grate your butter before you make it. It's much easier to dice in. Add brown and granulated sugar and all-purpose flour. You can use all brown or all granulated sugar. I'm using a pastry cutter to cut the butter into the sugar and flour until it resembles coarse crumbs. Sometimes you got to get your hands in there until it gets the right texture. Now you can do this with fresh peaches or frozen. You could even use canned. Just make sure if you're using canned or frozen that they're thawed and that you've drained them really well. Any excess water from, the ice crystals or from that canned liquid is going to make the pie wetter and not make it set up as well. So just make sure that you drain the peaches really, really well. We're gonna use 5 cups of sliced peaches. That's just shy of 2 pounds if you're using frozen. Go ahead and add those to a large bowl and top them with 2/3 of a cup of sugar, 4 tablespoons of cornstarch, a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and the juice of half of a lemon, about 1 tablespoon. Stir that together. Now you're gonna wanna put that immediately into your pie crust and bake it. Don't let it sit for very long because the longer that it sits, that fruit is gonna use that sugar and it's gonna start weeping. And if you want your pie to be solidified so you can cut it without it draining all over the plate, you wanna make sure and bake it immediately. And top it either with the second crust or with the crumble topping. If you're using a two crust pie, I like to do a little egg wash, brush a little egg wash around it so it gets nice and golden brown. Make sure to put this pie on a cookie sheet. I also like to use a Silpat baking mat or parchment paper in case it spills over. It makes it much easier to clean up. And I like to use a pie shield. You can use strips of foil if you don't have a pie shield, but it keeps the edges from getting too brown. Now we're gonna bake that at 425 degrees for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna lower the oven temperature to 350 degrees and probably bake it for about another 50 minutes or so until it's nice and golden brown and the crust is completely baked. Now this is the hardest part when you're making a fruit pie, any fruit pie, not just this peach one. The hardest part is you have to wait to cut it. When it comes out of the oven, it's gonna look a little juicy and you're gonna be worried that it's not gonna set, but don't worry. let it sit, let it come to complete cool to room temperature, and then chill it before you try and slice it. Once it's chilled for a couple of hours or overnight, then it will be perfect for slicing, and it's gonna be nice and solidified. It's gonna be gooey in the inside, not wet and loose. And we have our pie. This is one of my favorite ways to make a pie. I use some cookie cutters to write Crazy for Crust on the top. My crumble topping is my favorite, but using cookie cutters is my second favorite way to top a pie crust. And that's it. Super easy. You can use peaches, blueberries, you can use raspberries, blackberries, any combination of those to make this pie. Super easy. I hope you love it as much as we do. Leave me a comment and let me know what kind of pie filling you would love to use, and would you pick double crust or crumble topping? I'm gonna go put this pie in the fridge so it can chill so I can slice it and serve it while you keep watching.